Okay, ZBA, we are live and we are recording. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone. Welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals work session for May 10th, 2022. Before we get into our post-hearing decisions, we have administrative application. And that is Hampton Waters Corporation at 74 Oyster Shores Road in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-092-6-8. And that is to clear vegetation and construct an approximately 118-foot walkway on a parcel of land containing wetlands. Eleni, who's that, Tyler?
Me, yes.
Tyler?
So you can see the plan here on the survey, 118 feet long. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be actually relocating the pathway that they utilize onto their property. Right now, I'll pull up the aerial. It's a little bit nicer to see. It actually comes down and off of their parcel. So they want to relocate it onto their property, the homeowners association property, and construct an elevated walkway there. They already have their DEC permit. It's elevated, I believe, 4 feet off of grade. Yeah, 4 feet, obviously with handrails, 4 feet wide as a standard with the town. It's fairly straightforward, very wet in there, obviously. So, going across just a grade isn't really an option here. So we don't really have any concerns with it. Natural resource special permit, since it is a coastal structure. Yeah, that's all we really have.
And of course, the drawings and everything will stipulate that there are no ACQ.
Right,
No
and
treated.
that'll be a requirement of the permit conditions as well.
What's in this location right now? Is there a pathway that this is going on the top of?
There's this pathway here, which then comes down and around. So they're sort of connecting across to stay on their property and to revegetate the areas that they're.
And what's the adjoining property?
It's a residential parcel. This parcel here is
The property is the homeowners association property?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a homeowner's, right?
This is the one like further north on Oyster Shores.
I'm okay with this.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Okay, so make a motion. So therefore I make a motion in Hampton Waters Corp., 74 Oyster Shores Road, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-092-0668, to allow the application to go administratively.
I'll second it.
I concur as well.
Thank you. All right, well, that takes us into our post-hearing decisions. Our first one up is Peter T. Quinn at 128 Essex Street in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-28-5-45.4. The size and location is 19,434 feet at 128 Essex Street, Montauk Beach Development Corp., map number 1013. The description is to construct 1,302 square foot of first and second story additions, a 224 square foot rear second story balcony, an 88 square foot porch, 418 square foot front second story balcony, and an upgraded sanitary system on a parcel of land within jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-440, and 7 variances are required. Variances of 0.6 feet, 8.1 feet, 9.5 feet, and 11.8 feet from 255-430 wetland setbacks are required to allow an outdoor shower 99.4 feet, a second story balcony 91.9 feet, additions to the residence 90.5 feet, and a staircase 88.2 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100 foot is required. A variance of 3 feet from 255-1110 is required to allow the proposed addition to be located 12 feet from the northern side yard property line where 15 foot is required. 2 variances from 255-1172D pyramid regulations are required to allow the proposed addition to be located 6 foot on the north side and 2 foot on the south side, beyond relative height restrictions and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is A2 residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And whose case was
Was
this?
me.
Okay, go for it, Terry.
Okay, so this hearing, when was this hearing? I thought I wrote it down. I think it was April 5th, April 10th? April 5th. 5th, okay, thank you. All the variances are as they were in the relief notice. There's nothing changed since then. And the survey I'm using was dated 6/28/2021. There was a septic plan submitted, C1, dated 6/7/21. And this is a lot of variance. This is a pre-existing non-conforming property, which came into the possession of Peter Quinn back in 2020. It's pre-existing non-conforming, and there are a number, although many of the variances are small, there are a number that would cause the nonconformity to increase, but particularly concerned about the variances for the pyramid on the north side of 6 feet and 2 feet on the south side. We did have the hearing, and Todd O'Connell was the agent, and he did give an overview of, why they were doing some of these things. A lot of it related to the design and the line of the house as it currently exists, that they wanted to do a vertical addition as opposed to anything else. In the TAM, it was suggested that this property would be better with a redevelopment of the entire property, although the planner did state that there were other alternatives where they could do things on the western portion of the house. The house is steeply graded from where it's located now down to Essex Street, and the wetlands are at the end of the property on the eastern and southeastern portion of the property. A considerable difference off, and there's a steep drop off from the end of the property down to the wetlands. Now, as we saw in the photos at the hearing, the rest of the property from the property line on the east actually slopes downward toward Essex Street a fair amount. And in the hearing, the agent did say that there are possibilities where they could do things on the south side to reduce or eliminate the 2-foot variance, height, pyramid variance on the south side. And also they could move the shower in the rear of the property, which is really just a half foot away from being out of wetlands jurisdiction. There's a little bit of a history on this property in that prior to purchasing this property, the previous owner, the lot size was even more non-conforming, and there was a property line modification that was in progress and done with the owner of the property on the eastern side of this. And with that, they added 30 feet to the boundary of this property. It was discovered that the location where their brick patio now sits on the eastern, in the back of the house, on the eastern side of the house, was not on their property. So they did do a lot line modification, which started, I believe, around 2018, which was in front of the planning board. And there were a number of, when this applicant, Peter Quinn, went to buy this house, it was discovered, I guess, that all the paperwork and the agreements had not been totally signed off from the previous owner for the lot line modification. Eventually, in 2020, the same year that the applicant purchased, all those issues were resolved. The conditions were met. One of the conditions is that they would not build within 30 feet of the property line, except for the existing brick patio, which was allowed to remain at 25 feet east of the new property line. So they were limited to extending anything in the back except for an okay for a fence, possibly. So that precluded the current applicant from doing anything in that direction, which is just as well, because that was the direction of the wetlands also. It is non-conforming to zoning and 100% cleared. The this property on the north side where they need the 6-foot variance for the pyramid, there's already piercing the pyramid as it is today, and this would increase that nonconformity by, well, to 6 feet, to bring it to 6 feet. And all the addition is proposed on the second floor and going around down toward the south. They do not want to, at the hearing they testified, they don't want to do a complete redevelopment. It'd be more money and it'd be more demolition, and I can understand all that. However, even though the variances are small, I think the totality of the project, when you add up 7 variances and the pyramid to the north, there is another house that we saw in the pictures that's slightly angled to the north of this property. And they felt that they testified that the owner of that house to the north approved of this project. However, I think that this pyramid, again, increasing nonconformity, which we know this board does not look on favorably. And so even though the variances are small, I think the totality of this project would increase these nonconformities. And I will be denying this application. Just another note, they did offer an IA system. However, that is not mitigation. It's due to the size of the project. And I think this does not meet the standards and it increases nonconformities. So I am denying this project.
Thank you. I took a slightly different approach on this one. There are definitely 7 variances, and we do have 2 that are pyramid violations, and our history of looking unfavorably on those requests has been noted previously just now by Member Berger. I would say that in this particular case, the variances are numerous, but not one of them is particularly significant. They do exist, however. I think that the pyramid one that keeps coming back to us, and it's hard not to see the topography of the area and notice that they had, as was pointed out by the applicant, if the property line had been shifted a foot to the south, they would not be having a problem here. I also think when you're there, this is one of those special cases where you realize that the spirit of the pyramid law is not in violation by what they're proposing. This is not going to block anyone's view. It's not going to cause any real damage there. I do think there's a real problem with it, however. The other small things about the shower, willing to give back, and some of the other things that they discussed, that they could do something with the pyramid, the 2-foot pyramid violation or variance required for the south side, are all possibilities. One thing that gave me some pause was the suggestion of the redevelopment. One of the things about this particular parcel is, I think it would be to our advantage to encourage this applicant to do what he could in the existing footprint. I think any redevelopment is going to cause a fair amount of disturbance. It was also pointed out by Member Berger that although we are close to wetlands, the entire lot pitches away from the wetlands, so that there's very little danger of runoff going in that direction. All of those things really lean for the applicant in my mind, particularly because I think it's somewhat unique. However, we just recently have ruled on another case where on a potential pyramid violation and a pyramid variance, that we did not want to extend a nonconformity. And I think that is the real problem here in approving this for me, although I do see that I think they made a reasonable effort to come up with a plan architecturally that is compatible with the neighborhood. I don't think it's excessive. I don't think the size of the property or the size of the project is in any way, to me, a problem in what they're trying to add. But I will have to agree with Member Berger and deny this application significantly, primarily because of the 6-foot pyramid violation to the north. I think that this is a standard that we've recently ruled on, and it's one that I'm going to have to, I almost say reluctantly, in this particular case, turn this down. I would hope that they would come back with some other plan on that site. I don't think that there was anything excessive done here by the applicant, but I will, for those reasons, at this point, deny this application.
Thank you. Denise?
Well, I am in agreement with my fellow board members. I believe that this application does not meet the standards. The pyramid's not being done to comply with FEMA. It's just there are alternate designs for this house that can be explored and really have not been. It's not the minimum variance necessary. They're maxing out the property, and they could redesign the second story to alleviate variances. And there is also the option, which we have to look at, that a redevelopment could bring them outside of NRSP jurisdiction entirely. So, the lot line modification, which was issued by a previous board, did restrict this property also to a greater degree. So for these reasons, I think that this does not meet the standards for a variances or NRSP, and I deny the application.
Thank you. I also am in the agreement with you in a denial. I think this property is, I think, eloquently spoken already. My problem again is the pyramid variance on the north. I think it's the volume of the pyramid variance. It's increasing a nonconformity already. The applicant came to us and he said, you know, one of the reasons for his design considerations was that the neighbor's grade is not was higher, so therefore it created. And I don't think that's a standard for our approval, especially within an NRSP's location. Also stated that, you know, the ocean, that they were looking for ocean views, and I think that's an admirable thing. But again, I don't believe that's a standard for piercing a pyramid variance. And again, this is a non-conforming lot, both side yard setbacks, and increasing the variance, I think, is just too much to ask for in this situation. I also think that the septic system, as Member Berger pointed out, is not mitigation. I think no matter what they do to redevelop this property, whether existing or not, it's extensive and would probably trigger a new septic system anyway. So with that, I would also vote to deny it.
Yeah, can we just make a couple more comments that, of course, I neglected to say? I do think that there are alternatives available between a redevelopment
Right.
and the current project. And going back to the lot line modification, that was in progress for 3 or 4 years. And I looked at all the files that we had on that, and the planning board, I think, was very, very devoted to getting that lot line modification done and getting it done with all these conditions. And I think we'd be derelict in,
No, and I agree. And that's a good point. And I think this is not the minimum relief necessary. So, thank you. Council, you okay?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Next one is Michael Carrazza. And that is at 421 Sag Harbor Turnpike, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-156-5-10.3. Size and location is 125,459 square feet at 421 Sag Harbor Turnpike, East Hampton. The description is to allow an existing swimming pool patio to remain within side yard setbacks and to allow a 600 square foot pool house to remain on the parcel. The relief sought is one variance from 255-1110. Dimensional setbacks of 8.4 feet is required to allow an existing swimming pool patio to remain 38.4 feet from the side yard's lot line where 50 foot is required. One variance from 255-1123. limitations on accessory buildings is required to allow 600 square foot pool house to remain on a parcel where 200 square foot is required, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. Zoning district is A3 residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. This is in my area. If you give me a second, I just want to. So, board members, if you recall, this application was actually before us for just the pool patio variance, and during that hearing, it was discovered that the pool house, it just so happened it was close in proximity to date that we had looked at a similar case where the pool house was larger than what the town code called for. So the owner had to go back, or the applicant had to go back and apply for a variance for the pool house. And it's back to us now. So really, I want to look at this as almost two separate variances. One is for this pool patio setback, and then we'll tackle the pool house. So with the pool, this is a very large property. The side yard setback is 50 feet here. There's a small portion of this patio that pierces that. However, I think the property is unique in the sense that there is a part adjoining the property line adjoining this patio variance has 6 right-of-ways attached to it for other houses in this area. So there is no chance of another residence being affected by the noise requirement from a double setback. So therefore, and also if you take a look at the property, it is very well screened as well. So I have no problem with it. I think it's a small variance, and I think the neighborhood, it doesn't affect any of the variance standards that we have to look at. And so therefore I look to approve that. Regarding the pool house, the pool house was actually a permitted structure by the town of East Hampton. In 2016, the owner went for a building permit and was given a building permit, and he built the plans to the exact that he was allowed to do. And unfortunately, we did have a similar case where this happened too, and I think we granted that variance as well. This is a mistake by the town, and I unfortunately think that we have to approve it as well for that. But I'll also say due to the size of the property, the fact that there are no neighboring properties too, that does create some uniqueness to this particular property. And therefore I would vote to approve it as well. Let's go next.
I'll go next.
Go for it.
Okay. I agree with Chairman Deline. The size of the property is 125,459 square feet. The swimming pool patio, they explained during the hearing it was builder error, was not aware of the double setbacks that are required for the patio. There are 6 right-of-ways which border the area, and it really does not cause any disturbance. So I see no reason. I feel it meets the standard for approval. I feel the same way as Chairman Deline about the pool house. The applicant came up with a set of plans, which the building department actually worked with him, making suggestions. They came up with designs, they worked out, and he was signed off and issued a building permit. So what's there today isn't different from what was approved. He did exactly what he was given approval by the building department to do. So for those reasons, I think that I approve this application. You're welcome.
Ed?
Yes, thank you. I'm in agreement with fellow board members. I think just to reiterate that the 6 flag strips that separate this property from an adjoining neighbor create a unique situation for us. There's certainly enough buffer here to protect any future residents in that area or any other neighbor activity not to be a problem for them, I would think. And so that's That's really not a problem. I think also was pointed out by the chairman is that there was this very heavy line of vegetation along the property line protecting the pool area. Member Savarese mentioned that it was builder error, that they didn't realize they needed a double setback. However, it happened. But either way, I don't think that what we're looking at here is something that's going to be a potential problem for a neighbor. And about the pool house, I'm again in agreement with the logic used by both former members. I would point out that we did have a denial of one that had very much a similar shape to this house. And I think a significant difference here has already been pointed out by Member Savarese, and that is that this pool house was built, it was properly permitted and built precisely along the lines of the drawing that was submitted to the building department. Nobody tried to make a change. Nobody increased it in square area. It's just what was approved and built. That's a pretty regular occurrence when someone's following the rules. I think that they did. I think the difference from the one we turned down several months ago here was that the pool house that was built was not the drawing that was approved by the town. And so that was an effort to create a building you would like, and it was a very nice building, but it was nothing that had ever been approved and hadn't gone through the standards that are required for anyone applying for a building permit. So I think there is a significant difference. And I'm willing to approve both of them on that basis. I don't think that either one of these represents in any way a threat to either the character of the neighborhood or the environment as a whole. And I don't have a problem approving this application.
Thank you. Terry?
I am in agreement with the rest of my fellow board members. The one thought, though, I'm wondering, considering this all happened and they did have it permitted, but I'm wondering if maybe we should, if we could condition, I don't know if we could, that if anything going forward on this required some repair or reconstruction of that pool house, if it could be opened in the back, due to some other circumstance at that time, if that occurs.
I think that's a stretch.
Is that a stretch?
I do.
What, that it's a stretch?
Stretch to, yeah,
Yeah.
as long as they're in that.
Right. Because it is large, but I'll agree.
That's okay, I
I'll
get it.
agree.
I mean, and also, go ahead.
No, and again, it's getting back to what we're all saying.
It's unfortunate.
If he came back to us and didn't approve the plan that was, didn't build the plan that was approved, we would have something to hang our hat on. But he did everything he was supposed to do.
Right.
And I think that's the special circumstance here, which Ed, you brought up. And it's a good point because it's what differentiates it from another pool house you might have approved.
Well, there was pool house that I was referring to was not the one you were referring
Okay.
to. There was
Oh,
one
the-
before you were on the board that we did approve for the same exact reasons.
Okay.
They did have a legal building permit for that. So it's good to
It
differentiate
was a lot
those.
smaller, too.
Also, the timbre does bring up,
I
we-
know where you're coming from.
we might be seeing this applicant before us again, because the TAM does bring up that there was a variance, there was a ZBA decision, I think in 1988, was that somewhere around there, that conditioned the garage, and he decided not to address that at this point, so he might be coming back to us. We might be seeing him in the future on that issue. Thank you. Council? Okay. Okay, next we have Mike and Marcy Wade at 87 Cliff Road, Namagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-174-02-07. Size and location is 17,742 square feet at 87 Cliff Road, Hampton Dunes, Lot 78 map. Number is 4694 in Namagansett. The description is to demolish the existing residence and associate structures and to construct a 2,002 square foot, two-story residence with 129 square foot outdoor shower and shed, approximately 600 square foot of decking, approximately 765 square foot of bluestone patio and in gravel, driveway extension, new sanitary system, and 1,227 square foot of temporary clearing within jurisdiction of beach vegetation and duneland. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X, flood zone, secret class is type 2. Who would like to start off with this?
Was this yours or was
This
this?
is not mine, but
No, I think Tim actually did it. It was Tim's.
Oh.
I'll start off. You want him to start off?
Okay.
I don't care. Okay.
Okay, well, there were no variances on this project. This was a hearing that we had on March 1st, 2022. This house is part of the 1966 Hampton Dunes subdivisions. The lot is non-conforming to lot area. We have a number of files. The sanitary plan, C1, is dated July 30th, 2021. The SASCA survey is dated October 21st, 2021. We do have a site plan dated 10/19/2021. The last C of O that was on this project was to demo a pool and put in a new deck. This project basically is doing, well, it's a redevelopment of the property. The purpose of it, as testified by the applicant's agent, the agent's name? Oh, Mark Baccarat, was the architect and agent. They are they're demolishing the original house. However, the number of bedrooms in the redevelopment is going to remain the same. They testified that it's now a 3-bedroom house. It will be built, the new house will be built on a crawl space if it's approved. The lot coverage is going from 644 feet to 1,374, nowhere near the allowance of 3,548. And there was a ZBA determination back in 2007, which limited lawn and ornamentals. The lawn got slightly larger. This application, they are proposing revegetation and have the habitat will be more in keeping with the neighborhood. There was one caller on this project, Brooks Perlin, who was a neighbor at 83 Cliff Road, who subsequently sent in a note that they are in support of that. And he was just concerned about the construction process and the noise that might be created due to his small child. So they are I think this NRSP does that. They are following the preservation of natural resources on this property. They're revegetating, and I think the size of the project is completely compatible with the location, according to 255-540, and the big change, there's the change is that for the bedroom, there are 3 bedrooms today. There will be 3 bedrooms if the redevelopment is proposed. Obviously, we'll be having a new sanitary system that will be required, and they're just doing this to modernize and increase the size of the existing bedrooms that they have today. So I am looking to approve this. I don't know if we had a re-veg plan on this, but make it contingent on.
I think it was brought up that they would be working with the
planning
department,
yeah.
or it could be a
We can make it a condition.
approval.
Condition of the approval.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't
think
see
that's
one.
what I
Yeah.
recall.
Okay. So I will be approving this NRSP.
Great, thank you. Denise?
I agree with Member Berger. I think the size and scope of this redevelopment is in keeping with the NRSP standards. The existing improvements and increases in size appear to be in keeping with the neighborhood. I do think it's a plus that the lawn, the parcel was before the board in 2007, and one of the conditions was no lawn, and which has seemed to increase over the years. And the new owners, as part of this project, they're proposing to revegetate that area and bring it back to native habitat. And the removal of the lawn will be more in keeping with the surrounding area. I think that the pluses to this application are also they are not exceeding maximum limits of clearing. The bedrooms will remain the same. And there is a new septic system. I think this has been a very well thought out project. And for those reasons, I think it meets the standards for an NRSP, and I'm approving the application.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to agree with my fellow board members and make a couple of points. I think that the reasonable size of the project was an influence. We get a lot of these applications where we see a doubling and even more of the size for the residence that's proposed. I think this was a well thought out, as was just mentioned by Member Savory. I think that the fact that they're willing to reduce the lawn area and revegetate, which was an offer that was going to be required by us anyway, I imagine, because they were not supposed to have lawn, so they came to us with that. And that they took the planning as taken into consideration disturbance to the project. This seems to be that the approach here was to look at the kinds of projects that we are willing to consider and to take some steps in that area. And I think then a number of places that's the case here. I think that there were a couple of points in the TAM. I just wanted that the applicants were proposing to revegetate the areas, a number of areas around them. We just referenced that we're going to require now a re-veg plan, and that the overall project in terms of size and scope fits well within our NRSP standard. I think that if we go to 255-5-51, under D, the preservation of natural resources, that the structures have done the limited amount of damage possible, and that under 255-4-20, that we will not diminish in size, pollute, or degrade natural resources are both served with this application. I think alternative reasonable uses of the property, I think this is a very adequate or a very good proposed use of it. And I think compatibility with the neighborhood and in general environmental protection, which comes under 255-5-40 of the town code. I think in both cases, this project gets passing grade. So I'm in agreement with my fellow board members on this one, and I think this is a project that I'm very willing to approve.
Thank you. I too agree, and I think this is one of those projects where the applicant got it right from the get-go. The only thing I will add to this maybe is, although it's noticed that the bluestone patio is in gravel, I wouldn't mind making it a condition that it remain in gravel in perpetuity. I don't know if that's part of the NRSP that being in, I don't know if that's a condition that we should consider, but
Can we?
Is that strict?
You want the-
it's noticed as a bluestone patio on gravel. That's, I think, correct.
And
But
you want that to remain in perpetuity?
yeah, because I just want future in perpetuity, future owners to know that and to adhere to that. I don't think it should be on a slab in the future, because that often happens.
Yes,
I don't
it
know.
does.
You have conditioned certain applications to driveways and walkways.
That's
being,
correct.
Pervious materials, so if you want to kind of
Correct.
keeping with that, I don't see that that's going to be a huge issue.
Right. Thank you.
Do we know how much revegetation? I didn't notice an amount. No?
There was.
Well, there's 1,227 square feet of temporary clearing within beach vegetation. So that's probably going to be revegetated.
Clearing.
And the lawn.
Oh, wait, in addition, oh no, wrong project. I'm not sure there was a number that I recall
I
seeing.
think there is a number.
Well, it would be the proposed clearing, right?
Yeah,
The
that's what I
proposed
thought, that,
Clearing limit.
Can you sit on the survey?
Because I don't think they were anticipating a lawn, and maybe that's another thing we should clarify.
Clearing 9,982 square feet proposed limit.
What does this ask us? Let's take a look at the survey.
Yes, let's look at that.
The survey shows it going up by 1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet?
Yeah.
it
The
says
re-veg?
it in the notice, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it's on the survey.
okay. It's on, as long as it's on the
Yeah.
survey. Okay.
Great, thank you.
And that includes
the,
the lawn that's going to be,
Building plan, yeah, the building plans showed area to be revegetated on the building plans,
Oh, okay.
all these areas.
All right.
and those numbers calculate in the take back of the lawn?
That would be essentially everything that isn't cleared for structures.
Okay.
Clear, the sole condition being that the bluestone and gravel area, would remain either that material or any other type of impervious.
Now, on the re-veg, I have approximately 4,000 square feet. So maybe that's what that adds up to. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Should I announce now that I'm recused, or are you going to announce it first?
I'll read it in and you can
Okay.
announce. Next one is Kez LLC, 23 East Lake Drive in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-20-02-12. The size and location is 81,003 square feet at 23 East Lake Drive, Montauk. The description is to construct a 949 square foot one-story residence, 599 square foot garage, 348 square foot greenhouse, a 1,200 square foot swimming pool, 61 square foot pool house, 307 square foot pool trellis and patio under, and 61 square foot shed, sanitary system, driveway, and gates on a parcel of land within 150 foot of the tidal wetlands associated with the Lake Montauk bluffs and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. A residence, the zoning district is A residence, Zone X flood zone, VE 10 flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Terry?
No.
Oh,
Ed's got to leave.
I'm going to recuse myself from considering this application.
right, Terry?
Okay, this hearing was on March 1st, 2022. And it's a natural resource special permit, no variances required. Property size 81,003 square feet. The agent was Britton Bistrian, the attorney Tiffany Scarlatta, and planner was Eleni. Files that I have reference septic plan from Delandro Andrews was dated March 9th, 2021, received October 8th, 2021. The latest survey I have is September 24th, 2021, received October 8th, 2021. And we have a couple of landscape plans. The latest one I dated is June 9th, received June 18th of 2021. And the latest site plan that I have is March 5th, 2021. This is an application for a single-family residence. It's probably one of the most unusual that I've ever heard in front here. The property is 81,000. The residence itself is proposed to be 949 square feet. And the pool, the swimming pool that is proposed is actually larger than the house at 1,200 square feet, and a number of associated accessory buildings, a 61 square foot pool house, the 307 square foot pool trailer with a patio, 61 square foot shed, a new sanitary system, driveway and gates, all within 150 feet of the tidal wetlands associated with Lake Montauk and the Bluffs. This property has a history on it of itself, and we have actually received a letter in response to the TAM where the planners, were, I guess, was an unusual project for the planners also in the 949 square foot residence size and the large pool. We did receive a letter in response to the TAM from Tiffany Scarlatta, the attorney, dated February 25th and received February 25th of 2022 to address that. And in that, as far as the size of the pool, she states the applicant simply wants a smaller home rather than a sprawling square footage of most homes being constructed today, which complies with 255-551D2, encourages designs with smaller buildings. In addition to that, there was a history about the clearing on the property. Back in 2015, I think there was a notice of violation for the prior owner that because they had begun to clear, and apparently that property with the prior owner was being used almost as a junkyard. There were many cars and vehicles, all kinds of parts and metal that were buried and removed from the property with town supervision prior to the applicant's purchase of the property. To mitigate the effects of this cleanup on the property, the proposal includes an extensive revegetation plan that conforms to the HPOD clearing regulations, and they're willing to work with the planning department to include more woody native species, which was recommended also by the planner. There are also a number of native mature trees on the property that they said they will maintain and not get rid of. I think now there's also, which is not noticed, but in this area of Lake Montauk, toward the south end of it, there are steps that are proposed to go from the down to the shoreline. In this particular spot of Lake Montauk, there's no variance needed for the steps. Overall, I think this is a good project. There was a question that came up because they testified that the owner simply wants a large pool, that it's for the owner's use and owner's use only. A question did come up by Member Savarese at the hearing that asking these owners also own a non-residential property to the north of this one, which has a pending project in front of the planning board at this time. And to confirm that the pool on this property will not be used as a clubhouse or anything else. That would be simply for the homeowner's use on this property. And let's see. The current clearing of 54,000 feet, they will revegetate that plus an additional 17,000 square feet. And we do have the plan, which would ultimately get approved by the planning department. Now, they're offering a 75-foot scenic easement also. The planners did recommend possibly an increase to 90 feet. The applicant did not want to do that. And I think I am okay with the 75 feet unless my fellow board members want to discuss that further. But I think it does meet the natural resources standards. And with the revegetation plan, it looks like it's a very good project.
Thank you. Denise?
I agree with Member Berger. I think that the size and scope of the project is in keeping with the standards for an NRSP. Every structure, which are 7 proposed, meet all the wetland setbacks, so the environmental constraints, I believe, have been addressed. I like the idea of a 75-foot scenic easement. A 90-foot sounds better, but if we're all agreeing to 75 feet, it is landward of the bluff crest, which is something I like to see. They did agree to an amended survey being submitted to indicate that, or we could also condition it in our decision as an approval. Really, the only concern I had was about the adjacent property to the north, which you noted, which contains more cottages and is the same owner. My concern was that this property would be used as a clubhouse or even a community pool, and the representatives testified under oath. They noted there is no correlation between the two properties. This is a residential development, so we were assured this is being used as a single-family residential lot and want it to only to be a commercial operation. So based on that truth that was brought before us that night, that is the reason I feel it meets the standards for an NRSP, and I am approving the application.
Thank you. I too am looking to approve this. I think this is an interesting project. I happen to like it, and to one degree. I think when you talk about a primary residence less than 1,000 feet, you're pretty much restricting the intensity on the lot right off the bat, right? The 75-foot easement. I'm in agreement too, especially with the fact that they are going to bring, at the end of the day, the property into HPOD standards, and I think that's important to stay. Just to be clear, the walkway, which was not noticed, but it would fall under any other relief necessary. I think, are we approving that as well?
Well, it's
Just want to be clear.
NRSP.
Right,
Yeah.
as part of the NRSP. So I think that would fall within that description. With that, I agree with my other 2 board members and have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if we could stipulate their sworn statements about the pool and this property being
not being used
100% residential.
They made that representation to you on the record. I have no problem.
So we could condition that.
I think it's important to do that. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, the other thing goes back to those trees that are left on the property, that they will not, be harmed in any way for this project. I had concerns about the pool being pretty close to some of them. But just that it will, as stated, those trees will remain, those native trees that were on the plan.
And I think them testifying that, for me, I'm comfortable approving this because it's not going to be, it will not be used as a commercial operation, but it will be separate from.
It's a single-family residence.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
So
just
for me-
by zoning aspect alone, it can't be.
it's a
I
residence.
know, I do understand that, but
Yeah,
it did come up and they did testify that it won't be used that way,
And there was no follow-up that I can see in the record backing away from that.
Right.
Right.
Where you
right.
Right.
That really was my only concern. That was my only concern. And it was addressed.
Thank you. Welcome back from the principal's office. Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ruth Lazarus and Michael Feldberg at 196 Marine Boulevard, Namagansett. Suffolk tax map number 300-176-02-07. The size and location is 12,000 square feet at 196 Marine Boulevard, Hampton Dunes, Lot 28, map number 4694 in Amagansett. The description is to demolish the existing 1,992 square foot residence and associated structures and to construct a new 2,670 square foot two-story residence with 1,205 square foot of decking and porches, 120 square foot of slate walkway, a 360 square foot swimming pool, and a retaining wall, and a new IA system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation, dune land, and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to section 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 11 variances are required for this application. Variance is 84.7 feet, 84.7 feet, 77.4 feet, 69.4 feet, 56.8 feet, and 48.7 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the decking, porch, 15.3 foot, outdoor shower, 15.3 foot, two new residence, 22.6 feet, retaining wall, 30.26 feet, swimming pool, 43.2 feet, and slate steps, 51.3 feet from the freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 43.5 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to temporarily clear the 6.5 feet from freshwater wetlands where a 50-foot setback is required. One variance of 67.5 is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the new sanitary system 82.5 feet from freshwater wetlands where 150 foot setback is required. One variance of 2.8 feet is required from 255-11-10 of the Town Code to construct the pool decking 17.2 feet from the northern rear lot line where a 20-foot setback is required. One variance of 6.6 feet is required from 255-11-10 of the Town Code to construct the swimming pool 23.4 foot from the front yard lot line where a 30-foot setback is required. And approximately 1 foot variance from 255-1172D of the Town Code to allow the residence to be constructed approximately 1 foot outside the town's pyramid regulations along the northern property line and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X flood zone, secret class type 2. Who wants to kick us off? You okay with this?
Yeah. Let me go back here. The hearing on this was on March 1st, 2022, and the most recent survey, I believe, is June 3rd, 2021. What you have down there, Terry?
No, March 15th,
February 15th,
2022.
February 15th, I think. 22, that's what I wrote down.
Okay.
March 15th.
I have a March 15th, 2022. We got a revised survey
Oh, after that.
after the hearing.
That's right, okay.
Prior to that, it was
That's right.
February 15th, 2022, yeah.
So that should be stand corrected then to March 15th, 2022.
Yes, here it is.
As been stated by the chair, this is a rather large request. We have a great number of variances here. And they really spread out over quite a bit of area here. I just made a list that under 255-4-36 variances from freshwater wetlands. We have one variance for temporary clearing, one variance for the septic system. We have one variance for pool decking. We have one variance for the pool itself. We have one variance for a 1 foot pyramid violation. This project is in a very sensitive area, as we know. There's always been a reaction to anything that goes on here, and we have a constrained lot, a lot that's boarded up against wetlands in more than one direction, and we have to consider the size of development that we will be looking to approve on a lot this size and the kinds of development as it moves forward. I think that the proposed residence is not particularly larger than the one that sat there before, but I do think in many cases here, this particular project represents for us a problem. I do think that the idea that we're looking for 11 variances here, and that all of them are on this very particularly sensitive lot, is something that gives us pause when we're looking through at these things. If I go to, there's a couple of points here to make, but if we go to the variance standards, we'll see that in many cases, this is not going to pass for us in being considered acceptable. A couple of notes that were in the TAM I wanted to reference was that this is a new owner who purchased the property in 2022. And it was noted in the TAM that the environmental constraints of a parcel should be well known in any redevelopment, well thought out, after one has made this kind of recent purchase. And that the only really substantial improvement that was offered environmentally was the installation of the IA system. And that the IA system should not be considered to offset increasing the size of a house or the close proximity to the wetlands in this particular case. We very often look favorably on it, but here it's not adequate, in my mind, adequate mitigation for the size of project. This increase in the size of the project and the overall clearing is really not compatible with what goes in the neighborhood. And a new homeowner, I'm quoting Tam here, a new homeowner should be well aware of environmental constraints on the property. This is something that comes up, I think, regularly for us, and that when a house is purchased or a property is purchased, and then an applicant comes back in and looks for a new development, it should be pretty obvious that there were constraints when you purchased a property. This is not in continued ownership for an extended period of time where any of this might become as a surprise because of new codes or changes in the town's attitude. I think that if we go down and look at the NRSP standard 255-5-51, whether or not the preservation of natural resources on this site is being protected, whether or not alternate uses of the property might exist, whether or not alternate designs, and all of these, I think this project fails. I think there was an opportunity for this project to have been scaled down, both in impact on the lot and on its size. I think also that in that Town Code 255-5-40, compatibility and environmental protection, I think this is an overbuilt lot. I think this is a project that when we look at it, we ask ourselves about the impact on the environment around there. And I think that this is it was a large ask to begin with, and I don't think it's one that I can look very favorably on. It's also important to note that we received 5 letters, from 3 different sources, some of them more than once, and there were extensive comments about the impact that they've witnessed in the neighborhood. And while they are from outside sources, it is significant to see that there is that kind of reaction to this. So for me, I don't believe this rises to the standard for us to approve in this case. I think that the project is much too large for that very constrained lot, and I'm not looking to approve it at this time.
Now, just to be clear, we are referring to the revised where they reduced it down from 11 variances to 7.
Okay, well, I
5.
didn't do that. I still was.
That was an April
Okay, so I just
12th
want to be
letter.
clear with that.
Yes.
Okay, that's okay.
There-
Yeah.
Terry, you want to try it?
Yeah, actually, I thought so there was a little confusion on this project because we initially started the hearing with the incorrect survey and information because we got a somewhat not late submission. So the board really did not have a chance to review all of this prior to the hearing. And actually in the TAM, the existing residence went from 1,992 square feet to 2,670 for the residence. We had documentation received on February 25th, dated February 25th, also from Essex Hefter Angel about the project description. And then as a result of the hearing, with the neighbors that called in, plus this board, the the applicants did resubmit after the hearing an updated document from that same firm dated April 12th, 2022, that we received on the 13th. They made changes. They added the piling foundation plan.
Yep.
Dated February 26, 2022, a sanitary plan dated February 18th, 2022, the DEC letter dated December 31st, 2021, and an updated survey dated March 15, 2022 that we've been referencing. It stated that it went down to 5 variances.
It's 7.
It's 7?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
from
Okay.
11
It's
to
7.
5 or 7.
So there was, in the hearing, it was mentioned in the hearing to be 5,
Yes.
but when they followed up on April 12th,
Right.
the letter, their correspondence states that it's 7.
Oh, yeah, 6.
And they
6,
list-
6
they list the
wetland and 1
variances.
temporary clearing
Yes.
variance. Okay. Regardless whether it's 7
Right.
or was 11, I think this project is much too aggressive for this property size. And according to 255-551D2, these redevelopments on a property this size, that the zoning code encourages smaller buildings and a smaller footprint on the house. I think that it's overly large, even with the updates that they did provide for us after the hearing. And I think it doesn't meet the natural resources standards. I think the variances are still very large. And the variance, like the one of the variances to go to the house, I think was 20. Well, the variance was about 73 feet still, and I think that is a very large variance, and that they could make the new proposal that they could tighten up that project and look at smaller structures and buildings in that project. I am looking to deny it.
Thank you, Denise.
Just so we're clear, I'm basing my decision on the April 12th memo from Elizabeth Baldwin, where she outlined 7 variances. And just for the record, the residence they're requesting 75.1 foot, the patio 61.3, the swimming pool 56.9, the pool equipment 53. The proposed step 60.2, septic system 67.1, temporary clearing 43.5. There were callers that night, and I'd like to get on record their issues were water table and wetlands. One was concerned about, if approved, this being precedent setting. 2 were concerned about our public hearing procedures, which we addressed, and they were given time to evaluate the project. And another caller was concerned about flooding being an issue. This is a very constrained property. It contains beach vegetation, duneland, and wetlands, and a lot of the native vegetation. The current residence is very close to the wetlands, 14 feet. But the new proposed structure will be only 24.9 feet from the wetlands, and not a drastic improvement by any stretch when you're asking for an NRSP. The importance and significance of the wetlands was outlined in the TAM, and one board member during the public hearing noted that the wetlands are dynamic and pristine, and the entire area is prone to flooding. In a redevelopment such as this, I would have liked to have seen a little more thought put into the decrease or elimination of variances, where it would end up being less than with the pre-existing nonconformities that exist there. This is really not an appropriate level of development too close to the wetlands. The project does not seem to adequately improve the existing non-conforming conditions on this parcel. These are extremely high variances and not in keeping with the purposes of zoning. The current fashion of oversized houses on undersized lots is something coming before us quite often, and I think the board is going to need to have a discussion because we need to really talk about whether or not these sort of requests meet the standard. I feel that the house, the size and scope of this project is not in keeping with 255-540, nature of use, lot area, compatibility, environmental protection, not in compliance with 255-551, alternative uses of the property. There could have been more thought to an alternative design entailing possibly smaller buildings or structures. In terms of the variance standards, it will cause an undesirable change in the neighborhood, 255-850. The benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by another method. These requested variances are substantial, and the grant of these variances will have an adverse effect on the neighborhood, and it is self-created. More thought could have been put into preserving the natural resources on the site. There are other options that need to be explored, and for these reasons, I am not in favor of granting an NRSP or variances. They are not in keeping with the standards I've noted.
Thank you. I will say this. I'm going to also agree with a denial here, but I'm going to give you specific reasons why I think that should happen. I think that the original application was very, very aggressive. I think that they came to us last minute with a last-ditch effort to reduce and pull it back, and I think they did honestly, a good attempt at trying to do that. Which, slightly improves the nonconformities that are there and improves the environmental condition to the existing. I do agree that it does improve that somewhat. The problem that I have is that I think coming to the board with this last-ditch effort interrupted the process in that we did not have enough time to absorb it. I don't think it went through. This is an area that the wetlands are excessive. They are dynamic. There is flooding on this street. The properties around this property went through extensive review. And I think that this project, with the last minute review, did not allow us or the neighboring properties to adequately address it. And I don't think that the proper drainage plans and designs were really looked at and could have been looked at in designing this in this last minute issue. So with that, I think this property should be denied on the fact that I think it needs more thought and process to go along with it. Agree? Everybody agree?
I agree.
Yeah, that needs to be
Okay, Council,
scaled
you
back.
okay?
We did have a number of neighbors that did call in.
And I think,
the usual Jane
and
Neary.
honestly, I think in the
and-
future, when we have a project like comes up with when it's submit as a result of the TAM, a very material change, I think almost as a board, we should look at it and say this has to go to a new application because it really is a new application, right? So it doesn't allow us to do our homework. And that's why, Ed got it wrong in his evaluation. It's not his fault, right? I think this is
That's such a good
confusing application.
That's such a good point, because if you have a new application, then you can address the fact that you might be asking for more on this site than is appropriate. You could approach it like there could be a bigger setback for the residents. Maybe there can't be a swimming pool. And these are things that could be addressed through a new process where a new application comes before the board, because I don't think I'm ever going to approve a residence being 24.9 feet from a wetland in a redevelopment on a 12,000 square foot lot. This is, not so much the size of the house is modest, but you can't have everything else too all the time. And a new application would almost give the planning department an opportunity to review that. They now know how we feel about everything that's come before us, and it can be relooked at.
During the night of the hearing, in the original TAM, which it took them quite a while to respond to, that we got it. But, it was an out and out denial initially. And then at the hearing, with the improvements that they did add, I give Tyler credit for picking up on a lot of that, and he was not in an out-and-out denial, but he was also not in favor of it.
Right.
Leaving that to our decision, which, it should be. But it also, going back to the public, I know there was some discussion with some of the public that called in, but we did have, the neighbors at 202 Marine Boulevard, the Spurgles, Stanley and Nina Spurgle. They had a document sent in from Suffolk Environmental Consulting that we received. And it addressed the items in the original TAM and the original project that was online for them to look at. A number of these things did get addressed eventually after the hearing with the updates that we did get. Jane Nearing, Jack Hassad,
Yes,
all
that's
these
correct.
neighbors that called in, and they all had, legitimate points and were disturbed that they didn't have the latest
And
information.
I think we owe the public the due diligence on
Yes.
to really look at a project and evaluate it,
I mean-
especially in this situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've made that comment before, not too long ago, that on a particular issue, that it's not only for us to have time to consider, it's really important for the public to have a chance to weigh in, especially when it so directly affects them, being either neighbors or members of the community.
And also discussed at the hearing, that's the public's one chance.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you. Council, will you say on that? All right, we're going to other decisions now.
The decision.
We have a modification on Foti at 7 Fremont Road, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-19-06-5.5 to modify a September 27, 2018 determination to allow a reconfiguration of an approved swimming pool and decking. The board must determine if they feel comfortable moving forward with a public hearing for this modification.
Good evening. So I'm just pulling up the proposed survey here, and I'm going to see if I can pull up the approved survey right next to it so that you can take a look side by side. So this application was for a swimming pool. For a swimming pool, that's not working. I'll just show you the proposed. For a swimming pool, it was approved to be more than 100 feet from the wetlands. It is, the proposed modification is still more than 100 feet from the wetlands. They're just reconfiguring the location. So this is what's proposed now where it is. And this is this was the approved survey.
This was 2018. Was that the original determination, or was that another modification that was given? This sounds very familiar.
This was, the original determination was, I believe, 2019.
The original determination?
Let me pull it up.
And there was something else exactly like this in that look.
Oh, it's 2018. You're correct.
18.
They had a determination for the house separately. So this was just for the swimming pool.
And what is it going to do?
This is, they're just reconfiguring the location of the swimming pool.
To where?
This is the proposed.
You zoom in, look. Okay. Where? Does that improve anything on the setback?
It's roughly the same. This is the 100-foot setback here, this pink line. It can be looked at, I guess it is slightly further away from the wetlands. So this is to determine if the board feels comfortable moving forward with a hearing for this modification. So this modification had actually come in a while back, and it was put on hold by the applicant. And so they just submitted a letter saying they'd like to move forward with the hearing.
And you're saying it's further away from the wetlands than what was originally approved? They're just changing the shape of the bowl?
Yeah, they're changing the location slightly.
Okay.
But it's not any
Well,
closer to
actually,
the
was the
they're
original
increasing the
location?
distance.
What?
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
increasing the distance, so
They're
yeah.
making-
I mean, it's got to go to
it's-
hearing anyway, right? Yeah, any
It has to?
modification, according, unless
Well,
we change that.
if that's,
Well,
if it's an
but
improvement,
it's
I
an
guess, yeah,
improvement.
yeah.
Why
This
would
is one of
you
those,
have
it's,
to
this
go
is,
to
I said this to
public hearing?
council earlier, this is one of those applications that we should be able to prove on
Just
the bench,
approve.
on the bench based on a
Then why
proper
can't we?
modification, but I think we're,
Oh.
It's not in the code, it's not in the code.
It's not in the code.
There is a.
Because this is a situation where,
Precisely.
I mean,
It's a concerted effort right now
So get it in the code.
to change things in the code that would. allow-
yeah,
This is another
Right.
prime.
We-
this
that
is
needs to be
actually
clarified in the
better
code.
than what was approved.
yeah, no, this is one of those model
All right, I
cases
thought-
where you're
oh,
absolutely
yeah,
right,
yeah,
should be, and we hope to get that changed pretty soon, right?
Okay.
More of an administrative process than
I
required.
mean, the only reason, I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay,
It
I'm
should go
okay to have
public
this go to a
hearing.
hearing.
It's a material change,
Is it's more than what was
yeah,
approved.
or a material change, that's
I mean,
correct.
it's- Right.
We do that thing draft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so
can't
what are we
hurt, though. It
approving?
can't hurt
What
to
are we
go to a
saying? It
hearing.
goes to
We're
public
gonna-
hearing?
yeah,
Go to public
yeah.
hearing? Ugh,
Is everyone in agreement on that?
yes.
Yeah.
If we don't all
We
agree,
don't
then
agree,
we
but
don't
it's
do it.
good.
It has to go. All right, next is
Well,
Tusillo.
do we need, do I need a motion?
No, this doesn't go to
Nope,
motion.
no motion.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
don't I need a
Do we
motion?
need a motion?
I always like motion.
Okay, let's go motion.
She likes
I,
Go ahead,
I
Terry.
will make the motion on Fody at 7 Fremont Road in Montauk, tax map 300-19-06-5.5, to allow the modification request to be heard at a public hearing.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Tusillo at 88 South Emerson Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-050-01-25. And that's to modify a 10/16/2018 zoning board determination to allow the residence to be located 7 feet further landward than what was originally approved. The structure will be situated at 31.2 feet from the bluff crest, or where 24.2 feet was approved.
Here we go again.
It's the same.
It's the same
Repeat.
thing.
Okay. So, this is the, yeah, Tyler, go ahead.
Right, so yeah, so this was an approval that the board had where they were putting additions onto an existing residence. And the DEC required, as part of some things that have been ongoing, to relocate it landward of where it was. So it's gonna be located roughly 7 feet more landward. And it's actually, I think, mostly there right now. Do we have an aerial? No.
Does that change anything else?
As far as
I don't know, they were moving the parking onto their property.
the parking still proposed
Still gonna
over
be
here,
there.
yeah, it looks like it's just, they're also including as part of the planning board review, which I think they have their planning board or I think they
Yes.
have their planning board approval.
Yes.
They have a scenic easement on the seaward side, as well as revegetating the area in this like a yellowish color.
Okay,
So there are other changes as
I'm
well.
okay
but
with the
they're all
rehearing on that.
Okay, want to make a motion?
Sure, on Tuchillo at 88 South Emerson Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-050-01-25. Make a motion to allow this modification request to go to public hearing.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Bahia de los Sueños. Did I do that
You
okay?
did very well.
At 24 3 Mile Harbor Road
Same.
Drive in East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-056-005-020, and that is to remove the permit conditions to allow the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Okay, so this had been an administrative application that was issued in 2017 for a staircase down the bluff. There were certain project conditions that were not met. The applicant applied for a certificate of occupancy, and the planning department listed those out, stating that a certificate of occupancy could not be issued without meeting these certain requirements. They then have submitted a letter to the board requesting that the conditions be changed or that a certificate of occupancy be issued. The requirements were that the staircase be constructed with non-treated wood. It appears to have been constructed with treated lumber. That the staircase be 4 feet in width. It appears to be larger than that. The revegetation plan, they have not completed at this time, although they have stated that they will complete the revegetation plan. So we are bringing it forward to the board for your determination on this matter.
And then the materials are ACQ as well. It's not it's treated lumber, right? So
Treated lumber.
Treated lumber, 5 feet instead of 4.
And they've submitted a letter to
want
the
us to-
board
They
with,
want us to remove these conditions.
they wanted them to be changed slightly in what they've outlined in their letter.
well, I mean, this is in mind, but
What's the slight change?
yeah, I'll just say,
The ACQ and the 5 foot?
To remove the bottom portion of the staircase, so that any contact with the, with the water would not be treated lumber, but for the rest to remain, and to allow it to remain at its width.
well, I don't think conditions of a ZBA approval should be taken lightly. And therefore, I mean, I think the fact we had a discussion earlier with, in our meeting with council, and the fact that this was an administrative application, and they deviated from an administrative application, it then goes outside of the administrative process. So I think the recommendation that we should have is that it needs to go to a new application. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm in
We just
agreement.
can't make them
What's that?
do it. It's a new application.
I mean, it goes-
Okay.
So, well, go ahead then.
No,
I want to
no.
hear what member Young
No,
has to
I'm
say.
going to say I'm in agreement because, as you say, it was administrative and they had, you had a program in place, you had a plan in place, and they didn't follow the plan. Now they're asking us to remove whatever kind of restrictions will keep them from getting a C of O. I don't see how that's possible for us to be even thinking of that. I think it's got to come back in front of us again as a new application.
I also don't think it's the planning department's purview, if it goes out, to be able to then approve a nonconformity in an application that is administrative,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
but,
So
can't
it
we
almost
just
has to go to a
deny it
new
right now?
application.
well, but maybe not, because, once the zoning board has adopted and filed a determination, the building department gets that we get a request for a certificate of occupancy, and we tell them you're not in compliance with the C of O requirements, and you need to correct them. I really don't feel that it should come back to us. I think we gave him a list of permit conditions that he didn't adhere to. He's not going to get a CO until he does adhere to them. And why are we involved in him coming back to us for that?
But it was an admin, you said. This was an admin.
It was.
So does that make a difference
Normally,
legally?
you just wouldn't get issued a CO and you'd have to
Well,
comply.
Either way, it's a modification they're requesting. Modification would have to come back to us. What we're saying is, because it's the vehicle was an administrative application, it needs to come to the zoning board in a, help me out, counsel.
Yeah, so procedurally speaking, as discussed earlier, the method for which they could obtain relief would be through a new application. Because as was pointed out, this was an administrative, and at this point, it's not up to the planning department to remove conditions or make modifications. So whether you consider this a new application or a modification of an existing, it still requires a hearing in front of this board.
And we can't just deny this modification?
It's not without a hearing.
Right.
You have to have a public hearing?
To at least allow them to present and be heard. Obviously, if anyone is watching this right now, I'm sure that they'll take that into consideration when they make their modification
Right.
application or their hearing application. If you want to keep a certain thing there, you have to show that it meets as the board would consider if we were coming to them for the first time. I mean, you get the benefit of an administrative.
But in this case, we are denying this request because of the
Yeah.
process in which it came to us, that it's an administrative. So our motion is to deny this,
Yes,
is to deny this request.
yes, it's to deny the request, and their relief would be to
A new
make a new
application.
So for this to go forward, can we just, we no longer can forward a letter saying we don't entertain your request for a variance, and if you want to proceed, you have to come back for a new application?
We can have a letter to that effect.
That's how it used to be done.
You're denying what
Well,
is
it wouldn't
being-
have been a variance if it was an admin, right?
You're denying this request that.
You're not entertaining the request for a modification,
Correct.
which is
Right.
what the process used to be. And if they, in the letter also stated, if they did want to proceed, that they can, that it's their choice
Make a new
to
application.
come back to us for a new application. Otherwise,
That's
figure
correct.
this out and,
That's correct.
do the right thing.
That's correct.
Give them that information,
Right.
Let
Let
them
them,
know,
like
not tell
them,
you what you have to do.
like they should make the choice. Like, I
Right.
don't think it should be.
But right
on
now, I think
us.
my motion, I think I'm going to make a
Okay.
motion to deny the request.
That's- I
And I'll
agree with
second
that.
that.
That I'll second too.
So in the matter of Bahia
We
de los
second.
Sueños at 24 3 Mile Harbor Drive, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-056-05-20, I make a motion to deny the request to remove permit conditions to allow an issue of certificate of occupancy.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you. Extensions of time. J Partners at 11 Hoppin Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-031-02-13. And it's an extension of time for the construction of decking and stairs on a parcel within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. The original approval was issued in 2005. It appears that the work has been partially completed at this time. Laney?
Okay, so this was an application. It was issued in 2005 for the second story deck with stairs. It appears that the second story deck was completed, however, is now in disrepair. The stairs were never completed. They have renewed this determination as recently as last year, and they are looking to reconstruct the deck and stairs at this time. The planning department does recommend that this be the last extension of time for this parcel, just because it has been renewed frequently. The deck was built, the stairs were never built, and they are looking to do that now.
Wait, I'm sorry, you said the second story deck was built, but it's in disrepair?
Yes. We actually, when we visited the parcel, I didn't think that it had been replaced. It was replaced at the time, and a CO was actually issued on it after the replacement without the stairs. However, this determination has been renewed many times since then, as recently as 2021. So they're looking to reconstruct the deck and the stairs and close out the permit.
So you think we should give them one more year?
Yeah, for the last
Have the
year.
environmental conditions changed at all on this property?
They've not changed, and it is more than 100 feet to the wetland.
However, if we do say allow it, I would think that one last time and should require a reflagging. Right?
Can we, okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
good
know.
with
That's
that.
up to you. It's just a
That's
suggestion.
a good idea.
I mean, 2005 was the last flagging? Or who knows when it was? So we want to give them
I
one
think
more
that's a-
year?
With that
So-
condition.
I'm okay with it one more year. It's just a stair. It's not that major.
I'm okay
Well,
with
it's a
it.
deck too now, falling apart again. Okay, all right. So we need a motion on this too. I'll make it. For J Partner, Ed, you okay with it?
Oh, yes, I'm fine with it. Sorry.
J Partners at 11 Hampton Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-031-02-13. Make a motion to approve one last extension of time for this application.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you.
Written and sent to the applicant. The remapping of the wetland would happen if they come back again,
Correct.
not as part of this.
That's correct.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have minutes approval.
Minutes, and I did look at them. They're lovely. I make a motion to approve the draft minutes from May 3rd for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals. For the town of East Hampton. Did I say that?
You did. A
Okay.
second.
I concur.
I concur. We now have our resolutions, and we have 3 of them.
We do?
Carrie
Oh, yes,
Davis and John
Connors.
McKinn. Council, you want to lead us off?
This is added, right?
An application, this was for the dock at 275 3 Mile Harbor, Hog Creek. Board had a unanimous decision to deny the application after thoughtful consideration. And I asked that this board
In the matter of the application of Carrie Davis and John McGinn, 275 3 Mile Harbor, Hog Creek Highway, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-75-1-32.2, I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
A second.
I concur.
I concur as well. Next, we have Tourmalet LLC at 250 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-87-3-4.
determination regarding 250 Old Montauk Highway. This was a application to demolish an existing residential improvement. Construct a 4,252 square foot, 2-story residence swimming pool and approximately 2,312 square foot of 1- and 2nd-story terraces, a gazebo, sanitary system with retaining walls, and to allow a portion of the river walkway to the beach to remain on the parcel of land containing coastal beaches. This was seeking an NRSP and variances from dimensional regulations only from the town code. This board voted 3 in favor, 1 dissent, and 1 abstaining, Mr. Chairman Lee. And I ask this board to adopt this determination as written.
Okay.
That's mine.
Go ahead,
All right, and then in the matter of Tourmalet LLC, 250 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County, tax map 300-87-3-4, I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second.
I abstained.
You abstain?
No,
No, you voted.
you voted.
Oh,
I
I did.
abstained.
Oh, I did vote. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I dissented. Roy refused. I dissented.
So you concur with
So you
it.
concur with the as written?
And I abstain due to recusal. Thank you.
One more.
I tried.
And then we have Terrace Connors at 50 Bayview Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk tax map number 300-106-1-29.4.
So this determination is actually a resolution that amends a prior determination from the board that granted an NRSP and variances. This was filed in 2013. The requested modification is to construct the proposed residence as shown on the building plans and survey with the changes to the 2nd story and the footprint. The reason supporting it was that the conditions have changed and they have since reduced the plans. So to that end, this 1-page resolution, I ask that the board adopt it as drafted.
Yeah.
Who is that? Is that?
Connors, that was
Oh, it was
Amagansett.
Tim. It was Tim.
Yeah, and
All right, we're gonna make a motion.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
I have it.
Yeah.
Don't either.
I make a motion in Terrace Connors at 50 Bayview Avenue in Mamigans, Suffolk tax map number 300-106-1-29.4 to approve the determination as written.
Resolution amending.
Resolution amending.
Determination. I wrote it down.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you. With that ends our May 10th. Ed? you wanna-
I'd like to make a motion to close this session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for May 10th, 2022 at 8:09 PM.
Second.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank